Good afternoon from Southeast Asia. Where else would it be from? Don't know. It's the only place I like. Knocked all the way around the world 2.5 times. I just keep coming back to Southeast Asia. Today we're going to talk about weird things around the world, weird customs and traditions and even laws. And you can go Google that for yourself. You can find a billion of them. What people are not talking about is when you're banging around the world and you encounter this stuff, what do you do? What do you do? Okay, if it's non-destructive but just weird, maybe sickening, maybe disgusting, maybe makes you vomit, maybe pisses you off, what do? You do nothing. But if it's destructive to the society, what do? You do nothing, because it's not your society. What if it's destructive to individuals? Well, kind of depends. Depends on how destructive. Do you get involved? Do you stop it? Or do you just say, sabai, sabai. Do what you want. We don't care. It depends. There's no hard line to this. I spent a lot of years in Southeast Asia, still here, banging around different countries, because one after another, they kind of tick me off, but fortunately there's enough of them left for me to live out my life. I can keep going to new ones every few years. I still got a long list to go before they piss me off to the point where I run screaming for the border. That has kind of sort of happened once or twice. In America, or the Western countries, the laws to us make sense. Kind of, sort of. A lot of them don't, but kind of, sort of they do. Even if they don't make sense to anybody else, they make sense to us, kind of, sort of, because we were, hatched into that river, and we grew up with that morality. And so things that don't necessarily make sense from any logical point of view still make sense to us, because we've been steeped in that insanity and that illogic, and we think it's sanity, and we think it's logical, even when it's not. So in our own countries, Germany, France or UK or America or Canada, we don't even know what's bizarre. We only see bizarre things when we go to other countries. We might think some things in our own countries are a little bizarre, but not that bad. When we go to other countries, we can see the tiniest things as being really bizarre, and we start thinking, well, there are two kinds of people that come to weirdo countries. Specifically, we're talking about Southeast Asia now, because that's the bulk of my experience. I've banged around Eastern Europe a little bit. Didn't like it. Oh, God. That's one where I ran screaming for the border. For the border is plural. I didn't like any country I went into Eastern Europe. In the old Soviet bloc countries, oh, hell no. Hell no. Southeast Asia makes infinitely more sense to me than some of those countries. Anyway, a lot of people, it's mostly guys who come to Southeast Asia. A lot of guys come to Southeast Asia, and it's kind of sort of two categories. One category consists of the guys who, they get here, they get on the ground, and before they get to the hotel, they're pissed off at the weird cultural bullshit they're witnessing and being victim to. And pretty much immediately, or within a day or two or a week, they're griping and becoming more and more public and more vocal. They're getting online. They're going on Facebook. They're going to all these places. Oh, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. We got to come in here and, America has to take over this country because this is bullshit. Oh, we can't let this stand. And a lot of, bad things happen to them. Worst case scenario, the government picks up on your bullshit. They just deport you. Best case is people online or wherever in the restaurant or wherever you're spouting this shit, they just tell you to shut the hell up or we're going to physically hurt you. You know, and some guys get it and some guys don't, and they get physically hurt. And then after that, a lot of times they'll shut up and sometimes they don't. And then they get deported or they get killed or whatever, driven into the sea. I was on my way back to Southeast Asia a year ago. Stopped. I actually wanted to go take pictures of camels. I retired photographer. I wanted to take some pictures of really cool camels, low-end camels and high-end camels and all kinds of camels. And I wanted to stop in Saudi Arabia. And I had a kind of a quasi-guide set up, I thought, who flaked on me. But anyway, I got to, I thought, well, you know, I'm going to have to wing it. I'm going to have to go alone. I'm going to have to go around and just be careful a bit because different countries have different types of weirdness about people taking pictures. And I thought, well, you know, I'm taking a picture of a camel. Who cares? That should be okay. And so anyway, I started Googling around and found out that, let's say I go outside my hotel in Saudi Arabia or in quite a number of other Muslim type countries. And I look down the boulevard and, oh my God, there's some sand dunes in the distance and the sun is just going down and it has turned the sand dunes orange. And maybe way up on top of a dune right outside of your little town. Oh my God, there's a couple of camels. Why, you know, there's 800 yards out there. Well, you got a telephoto, you know, and then you think, oh my God, that's a picture. That's going to make me some money. And so you stand there on the sidewalk and you go clickety, 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 clickety. You get about 8 or 10, you know, bracketing some settings and, you know, wider angle and telephoto. And oh my God, I nailed it. I got that. National Geographic, here I come. And you turn the camera off and you let it fall down at your side on the sling and you're looking around and see where else can I. And then all of a sudden, and you got 4 cops and they run at you, shrieking in Arabic. And they demand to see your pictures. And you think, well, that's a little rude, you know, that's a little odd. But okay. You know, their countries, their rules, they're not going to hurt me, see my pictures. And so you pull up the camera, you turn it on, you put it on view, and you start flicking through the, excuse me, the pictures on the back of the camera and the LCD, and they snatch the camera away from you. You think, well, that's rude also. You know, come on, guys, you're kind of pushing your boundaries here. But they got the camera, and there's 4 of them, and they look angry. Oh, they look pissed, you know, oh geez, and you're kind of wary of places like that anyway. So you just shut up, and you step back and you say, okay, you know, if you want to go forward, you do this. You want to zoom, you do that. Okay, yeah, okay. So they click through and they get to about the 3rd one and they say, oh, turn around, put your hands behind your back. Like, what? It was some camels 800 yards out on a sand dune. They weren't humping each other. What? Okay. Turns out a block away. There's a figure. Well, there's 5 figures. One of them happens to be female. She's got her back to you. She's walking away. She doesn't know you're there. You didn't know she was there. But she's a female and you took her picture without her permission. Worst case scenario, they handcuff you. They take your camera. You never see the camera again. You go to jail. You got to involve the embassy to get you out of jail. Well, it might not happen in Saudi, but it might. But it sure as hell will happen in some other countries. Best case scenario, they make you delete every nice picture you've got. You say, look, I can crop her out. You know, I'll mask her out. You know, really, come on. I don't care. The woman is not the focus. You know, she's only like 10 pixels tall and she's a block and a half away. Come on, guys. These are great pictures. Come on. And they just delete them. And they give you back the camera and maybe they tell you, check out tomorrow. What are you doing here, sir? You know, if they speak English at all. Why you come our country? You know, and it's just going to be ugly. It's going to be upsetting. Okay. What do you do about that? You don't do diddly. Nothing. It's their country. It's their culture. It's their laws. It doesn't matter if they're crazy. It does not freaking matter. It doesn't matter. It's their place. When you go to another country, you are almost never invited. You're not an invited guest. You're a pest. You're a pest. And they allow you grudgingly to come into their country, into their culture, because they know you've got a little bit of money and they think they're going to get some. Maybe they're going to get a lot, maybe they're going to get all of it. You are walking into someone's home. You're walking by on the street. They don't come out on the street and invite you. Hey, you want to come into my home? Come on in. Oh, you look nice, come on in. No, you're walking by on the street and you just go up and you knock on the door. If they open the door, you don't ask them if you can come in. You just sort of push it and you walk in. You sit at their dinner table with all the kids and the family, the little woman and the dog and the cat and the gecko, whatever. That's kind of what you're doing when you go to another country. And you are odd man out. And you keep your mouth shut. Okay? That's the whole point of this prelude to this video. You keep your mouth shut. It's their place. It's not your place. It's their home. Oh, really? You got to get that through your head. The other type of guy, other type of person who comes here are those guys. They're already clued into that. They will not object at all to anything. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what people do to them. These are the most common of people who go around. You see that when foreigners come to the U.S., mostly, about 85% of them that come to the U.S. or Western country. That's what they're like. They just keep their mouth shut. Criminals come along and rob them. They don't say a word. Criminals come along and rape them. They don't say a word. They just shut their mouths because they don't know what's right and what's wrong and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. They're scared of the police because they're scared of the police in their own country. And increasingly, they have a right to be scared of the police in the Western countries, too, because in America especially, they've gone stark raving mad with power, and they're crazy, and they will shoot you, even if you're the one reporting the crime. Don't even get me started on that crap. Okay. Blood pressure. I should make like this meter on the screen. Maybe I can do that. I'll make this bar graph. And it can watch the blood pressure go up and down, depending on what I'm talking about. That'd be a hoot, wouldn't it? No. Okay. So this video is about, where's the line? What do you do when the behavior and the customs of some other country become so heinously outrageous, you can't shut your pie hole anymore? Okay. At what point? Where's the line? Where's the red line? Okay. Let's say, here's Nepal. In Southeast Asia, well, in Thailand, it's pronounced Nepal. I don't know why, because there's no N at the end of it. It's Nepal. What the hell? They pronounce it Nepal. Okay. In Nepal, forever, up until just recently, if a girl was beginning to menstruate, if a girl was beginning to menstruate, and every month that she menstruated, she could not live in the house. She was not allowed to be in the house. The poor families who only had one structure just gave them a few belongings, I don't know, a jug of water and a bag of rice or something. I don't know. Go get up. 6 days, you come back. And they just open the door and they wander out into the snow. They go live somewhere. A very great many of them lived under the porch. I'm not making this shit up. You go Google it. I am not making this shit up. They lived under the porch if they had a porch. Or I suppose if they didn't have a porch, they lived under the house. Because menstruating was considered to be such an affront to, I don't know, to what? To something, to, not to God, not to reality, not to logic, not to, I don't know. It was an affront to something. But the entire culture thought it was such an affront that they could not be allowed in the living structure. And so the richer families, they built like a dog shed, out in back. And they were lucky if they had, I say they had 5, 6, 7 women in the family, and, 2 or 3 of them menstruated at about the same time. Well, that was pretty good, because then they got to go out there and, they could horse around and eat together and tell stories and whatever they did in the dark out there in the freezing, stinking cold, Okay, that was a culture in Nepal. Increasingly, it's not. Increasingly, they're kind of sort of waking up. In the last decade or so, they're getting way better about it. I don't know what the percentage is anymore of families or households that still do this. It's dropping steadily, but it's still being done in the outback, not in the provinces somewhere. So it sucks to be a girl in Nepal. Unless you live alone, and then life is probably good. I don't know. Well, I mean, that's a case in America. If you live alone, life is good anyway. Just don't have a cat. You don't have any problem. Oh, well, you have a few problems. Okay, so that's a cultural norm. It's just one thing in one country that Americans or Western people would find pretty offensive. If we were there, let's say we're standing there as their uninvited guest, and we see that going on. Everybody sits down to a nice warm dinner, all the family, and you, the guest. But 2 of the girls are told, nope, get out. Get out. Get out there. Go out there with the bears and the abominable snowmen. They're going to come and rape you, but we don't care because you're menstruating and you got to get the hell. Okay. And you'd be thinking what? What would you be thinking? You'd be thinking, that's pretty rude. That sucks. What the hell? What the hell? Huh? What? Now, universally, Westerners would think that. It's hard to imagine there'd be a single one that didn't think that. They wouldn't think that was rude and objectionable and wrong on just about every level. Probably every level. I said just about every level. I can't think of any level. So here we get to the crux of the problem. What do you do about it? Okay. If you are one of the travelers who just shut their mouth, no matter what happens, you just shut that flap. You just zip it. You super glue it. Zip tie it on it. If you're one of those people, you don't have any problem. Well, internally you have a problem because, mentally you're thinking, oh my God, these people are Neanderthals. This is just crap. Oh, what the hell's wrong with it? But you don't say a word. You don't frown. You don't give any meaningful glances. You just sit and shut up. You choke it down. Okay, if you're one of those people, that's what you do. And life just goes on. Maybe in some cases they're going to be looking at you to see what you're going to do because they want to know what you're thinking about this practice because they've heard that some people don't like it. If you're putting off a strong vibe, it doesn't matter if you look at them. It doesn't matter if you hold your breath. They're going to sense this vibe and they're not going to like it. And they're probably going to want to get you out. Or they're going to want to be rude to you or both. If you are truly okay with it, life will probably go on. You'll eat a nice dinner together with, with all the people who are left at the dinner table. And everything will be fine. If you're one of the people who, if you're a Bart Simpson, my hero, and you don't like what just happened, it's going to tick you off. Maybe you're going to try to choke it down. Maybe you can't. Maybe. Fool that you are. You decide to speak up ever so slightly. And you say something, you're very polite, you know. And you say, oh, I feel bad for those girls, you know. Are they hungry? Are they going to be cold? You know, is that really necessary? They have to go sleep in the snow in the dog shed for 6 days? Okay. Then you're effed. You're effed. They're going to hate you because you're bucking their culture. They grew up with it. They were born into it. They don't know anything different. They don't want to know anything different. So that's not going to solve the cultural chasm. It's not going to bridge it. It's not going to educate them. It's not even going to make them think. It's only going to piss them off, and they're going to want to take it out on you, and they will. Okay. In that situation, I recommend, having knocked around the world more than I should have, I recommend you shut your pie hole. You shut it. You shut it. You don't make eye contact. You don't look down, because that might make them think you're, you know, don't like it. If there was a conversation you go in before, you continue it. Okay. And then when your visit's over, you go. You say, Kakuna Kreb, thank you very much for the dinner. Oh, Eloi, Eloi. Look at you. And then you go. And then if you want to write about it in a blog or on Facebook or some damn thing, you do that later under an assumed name. Maybe by that mechanism, a teensy little bit of logic will trickle down to them. And little by little by little, over decades and decades, they will think about changing that practice. Well, that's exactly what has happened. And you didn't pay any price for that change. You just let them find it somewhere, sometime, online, magazine, whatever. And they don't associate you with it. You don't become the enemy, but they will think about it. If you confront them with it, they're not going to think about it. They're just going to say, oh, bad man, get, oh, they're evil, get out. I call a Bigfoot, he eat you. Okay, that's what they're thinking. It instantly is a wall between you and them. If they just find something later in a blog somewhere and they don't know who wrote it, they think, no, maybe, I don't know, maybe we should think about that a little bit, you know. Maybe there's something to that. Okay. So you're gently leading them to a more logical world. You're not confronting them with brute force and trying to bludgeon them into thinking like you. Okay. Now, that applies to the vast majority of weird customs around the world. But the purpose of this video is to explore those cases where the customs and the culture crosses your red line. I mean, not crossing their red lines, crossing your red line. Okay. There's a case in, pretty sure it was Afghanistan, I don't even know, 15 years ago, 10, more, 15, probably 15 years ago. They had 3 guys. As I recall, they were youngish guys, 30 years old, something like that. 3 guys. Friends, I think. Co-workers, maybe. And somehow, some young girl, I think she was 18, 19, something like that. It doesn't really matter. She accused them. No, she didn't. She didn't accuse them. Some relative accused the 3 guys of raping her. And she said, no, never happened. No, did not happen. And the 3 guys said, hell no. No, we never touched her. You know, we thought about it, but, you know, they didn't even say that. They vehemently denied it. And, you know, what passed for the police there, I can't remember what they were called, the community leaders anyway, like the neighborhood watch captain or some freaking thing. And he showed up, and he was just an imbecile. And, you know, what a surprise that would be. And he had a kind of a hearing thing with some locals. He attended, and I asked the three guys, did you rape that girl? No, never. And they went to the girl, did these guys rape you? No, never. Okay. And the watch captain says, okay, I don't know who to believe here, because these other people, your neighbors or somebody, they said these guys raped you. And we got to figure this out. We got to get to the bottom of it. So he said, okay, I know what to do, because Allah has spoken to me. He whispered something at my ass, and I heard it. Allah suggests that we build a big fire pit. And it burns really hot for a couple hours, maybe some hardwood, shit like that. And then the flames go down. All we got is these red hot coals. Okay, it's about, I don't know, 7-8 meters across. It's a hefty fire pit. Okay. And you three Turkozoids, you're going to walk through that barefoot. Mother bastard, child rapist. Pieces of shit. No, I didn't say that. No. You're going to walk through there. Okay. And Allah is going to, we're just humans, we're stupid. Allah is going to decide if you raped that girl. Okay. Got it, paisano? And they're like, we don't think Allah was there. Allah is everywhere. Okay. So I lined them up, and the guys are just scared shitless, because they know what's coming. And the deal was, they walk through the red hot coal, 7 or 8 meters, and they couldn't run. No, you gotta walk slowly. And if your feet burned and blistered, that meant Allah had turned his back on you, because he knows you are effing liars. And he allowed your feet to be burned to cinders, right down to the ankles, assholes. But if you walk through there, you don't get burned. That means Allah believes the truth of your words, and Allah has protected you, and you will be free. Now, if you get burned, that means Allah hated your guts. He hates you. Hell, he hates you. And you'll be put to death. And the guys are like, oh, suck. Wish we never saw that girl. Oh, suck. Never got within 50 yards of her. Oh, that's a bad, unlucky frickin' day. And they were terrified. So one by one, they had to walk through the coals. First guy goes through, he's about 1 meter in. And their feet are on fire, the toenails have melted and burned off, and they're smoking. All the hair on his legs is gone, and he sprints the rest of the way, and he'll never walk again. Well, it doesn't matter, because they killed him. He don't need those feet anymore. Okay. Next guy, he's like, oh, suck. And he's saying some little prayer thing, And he's surrounded with, machetes and knives and spears. God knows what they had. And he says, well, if I stay here, these guys are going to off me painfully. And if I walk, there's a 1 in 1 billion chance. I don't know, maybe all is real. I never really thought so before, but maybe he's real, and he's going to protect me, because I know I didn't rape that girl. I never touched her. I never kissed her. I never tongued her. I never felt her boobies. I never got within 50 meters of her. Please, Allah, please, now is the time, prove yourself to me, please, Allah. And they prod him a few times in the ass with some bayonets, and he starts walking. He makes it 1.5 meters, 2 meters before anything bad happens. He's thinking, oh, holy crap, Allah. Only 5 more meters to go. Oh my God, there is an Allah. Well, no, it turned out he was just so terrified he was getting faint. And he just passed out, fell down into the coals. And when his feet are sticking up, they see, they're burned to rat shit, just like the other guy. They wake him up, kill him. I don't know how they did it, beheading or something. I don't. Probably slow beheading. I don't know how you could do a slow beheading, but that's probably what they did. I don't know. Okay, and the third guy's thinking, okay, I should have been a Christian. I should have been a Christian. God would have forgiven me. All as an asshole. All as an asshole. Oh, hell, this is a bad freaking day for me. And by whatever mechanism, he starts walking. And of course, he's scorched. The toes are gone in 4 meters. They're gone. They're just smoking little embers. They fell off and they're back there. Dogs are trying to get at him, but they can't because it's too hot. And he gets to the other side. He can't even walk anymore. He's on his knees. His feet are half burned off and it's on fire, They off him. Okay. Now, in Afghanistan, assuming I got that country correct, I'm pretty sure it was. Pretty sure. It doesn't really matter, does it? Could have been, Georgia. I don't know. Really, seriously, it could be Georgia. If you're there and you see that, and they didn't rape her because she was with you for the last 72 hours. Weren't no rape, but okay. Anyway, you're there. Everybody's got pitchforks and they got machetes, and they're slow and they can't fight worth a damn. And you got AK with about 200 rounds strapped to you, and you're thinking, well, excuse me, this is wrong. This is dead wrong. This is as wrong as anything can be wrong. I don't like this custom. I don't like this culture. I don't like it. Now, if you speak up, they're going to kill you, because then you're going against the word of Allah, because Allah has spoken. You can't go against the word of Allah. Oh God. You can't speak up. You can't give dirty looks. You can't frown. You can't stare. You can't mumble under your breath. You can't even turn away, or they're going to think you disapprove of Allah's word, and they're going to, God, it's going to be terrible. They're going to castrate you, and then they're going to start, Okay, but you got an AK, and you're good with it. You got a lot of rounds. There's a total of 30, 40 of them. You're in a good vantage point. After the first guy walks through and he gets crispied, and they off him, what are you going to do? Because that's the question you're going to have to answer for yourself all around the world. Most cases are not going to be that extreme, but some kind of sort of are. Now, I'm currently living in the Philippines, in some of the southern provinces. The age of consent with parents' permission if you marry is 12. 12. 1, 2. Unless they've changed it just in the last couple of years. So that region down there, it's not one province, it's a whole area. It's got a lot of 77-year-old guys down there marrying 12-year-olds. And they're taking care of the family. They're giving them, $500 a month, $500 US a month, something like that. And the family's like, oh yeah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. And so the family gives their consent and they get married. It's all legal. 12. They're 12. Okay. So that's not the same as often 3 guys who didn't commit any crime. What are you going to do about that one? That's getting up there, kind of in the territory of that red line. The Afghan guys there are way over that red line. So back to the Afghan guys, just for a minute. You see this play out. First guy's dead. Twitching, feet. I wonder if I can get AI to make me a thumbnail showing the smoking feet. Oh, that'd be funny, wouldn't it? Whatever. My sense of humor has greatly expanded over the last many, many years of living around the world. I find things funny that are just wholly inappropriate. Who cares? I care less and less about anything anymore. But the Afghan guys would have pissed me off. What are you going to do? Now, you know you got good fighting skills. You know you're in a strategic position. They don't have guns. They get machetes. In the first 7 seconds, you can take 90% of them out with a burst. Reload. The other ones have made it to cover. And you just march on them. You know, you watch for machetes flying through the air. That's the only way they're going to get you. You pop them one by one, they're gone. Okay. Issue is solved. You saved the lives of 2 innocent men. Okay, of course, the whole country's going to hound you. You'll never make it to the border unless you're 100 meters from the border. You're not going to teach them anything except that Westerners are Allah haters, disbelievers. What are you going to accomplish? Less than 0. Okay, you've offed 40 locals, saved 2 good guys. In the case of the 12-year-old girls in southern Philippines, what are you going to do? Are you going to get vocal? Go online? Say this is bullshit, I don't like it, it's wrong by every Western standard? Well, all the people down there, all the nationals, they're going to hate your guts because you're interfering with their culture. Government probably is going to deport you, or what's really, really common here is 2, 3, 4 guys, they just come and knock on your door some night. Neighbors hear a little bit of thumping. Guys leave. And, you know, you're gone. You're dead. You don't get deported. That's a lot of trouble, you know, and they don't want to turn it into an international incident. The police will say, oh, some robbers came. I don't know. They all had, you know, potato sacks over their heads. Oh, we'll never find it, but we'll try. You know, we'll make a report. You know, okay, that's it. So what have you accomplished if you go down there and you start griping about that issue? Nothing. Okay. Now, there's a percentage of people who would say, and very, very unfortunately for me, I happen to be in that group, they're going to say at some point, the culture is going to be so egregious, so outrageous, so detrimental, I don't care. Let's say you got a situation where it's a custom for some people somewhere to, when a girl turns 13, she must be raped by 10 local men. Let's say, I don't know, I've never heard of that particular one. I think things like that did happen eons ago. I know in China, eons ago, it was accepted that the fathers had sex with their daughters the moment they became of age. And the guys was, G-U-I-S-E, the guys was that was a good and proper thing because you needed to train them how to have sex properly so that they could land a good man who would have a lot of money and he would take care of your family, meaning the girl's family. Okay, that was there. That was, they racked that up to family survival. So the father had to teach their daughters how to have sex. Okay. What are you going to do about that one? What are you going to do? You think it through. What are you going to do? You see that. Your neighbor, you see this whole thing play out. What are you going to do? Okay, now back to the girl who turns 13 and it's a cultural requirement that 10 guys rape her for whatever ungodly reason, you know. There's so very little logic in so many of these cultures and countries. Maybe it was there once, you know, 2,000 years ago, but it got bastardized and morphed into something wholly, completely unreasonable, but it still exists. Okay, what are you going to do? Okay, you got a neighbor, you got a lovely daughter, she's 13, she's going to turn 13 like tomorrow. And they're already lining up the 10 guys. 10 horny little bastards, you know, they're rubbing their little claws together. And You know this is going to happen. Is that over your red line? It's over my red line. That's one of my problems about living around the world. They all got AKs, you got a machete this time around. It's switched. You got nothing. You got a kitchen knife, okay? You got a plastic butter knife you've been sharpening that sucker, you know, on the concrete. Pretty sure you could kill a chicken, you know, if you saw it at him for 10 minutes. You know, that's all you got for weaponry. But they all got AKs. So what are you going to do? You're going to go over there to their house, you know, when you see the guys come in, they all arrive and they come in. And you know you got about 3-4 minutes before it starts. What are you going to do? No, you got it. You got to think these things through, because if you don't, if you act on spur of the moment, knee-jerk reaction, you're going to get effed. You're going to get effed. Really, really badly. Your life may never be the same. You may never have a life again after that. Suck that up. Think it through. Because that's the shit that awaits you all around the world. Now, for me, oh man, there have been so many times when stuff like that has crossed my red line. And I have regrettably gritted my teeth and clenched my fists and closed my eyes and screamed into my own brain. And F me, I let it go. I haven't done that too many times. When I was a little kid, in kindergarten, we had a blind kid in the school. They didn't keep him separate. Then we all went to school together. And I was the skinniest little runt. And so was he. And he was blind. So, of course, all the wonderful little American boys made fun of him and pushed him around and played tricks on him. I fought every one of them. And I got my ass kicked every single time. But I didn't stop. Fortunately, I didn't get killed because they were little bastards. You know, they can't kill people. But in the case of the 13-year-old girl, what are you going to do? Because you're going to run into that. Maybe not that exact scenario, but things like that. What are you going to do? You're going to go over there and take your lousy machete and jump into them. Maybe you get 2 or 3 before they cap you. What's going to happen? They're going to drag you out in the back. Maybe bury you, maybe not. And they're going to go find 3 guys to replace the ones you offed. So now they got the requisite 10, and they're going to come in, they're going to rape her. I was in Laos. No, I was in, where the hell was I? Cambodia. I was in Cambodia. Locally, they say it's called kombucha, because that's closer to the old name. Anyway, come here, Cambodia. I was there, and I was going somewhere. I was walking through Pol Pot's killing fields. There's a tourist attraction for Pol Pot's killing fields down out of Phnom Penh. And I had been to those a few times. I wanted to see some that were off the map. And so I hired a guide, and we went trooping through the jungle to find some of those places that the tourists didn't go to. And we came into a clearing. The guide was ahead of me by 15 yards through the jungle. And he came into a clearing, a pretty big clearing. And he just turned and silently motioned, stop. And I said, oh, shit, cobra. No, we're no cobra. He motioned for me to come up slowly. And I came up slowly to him. And through the brush, I could see into this big clearing. There was a group of, I'm thinking 40 people. 35, 40 people. And they were in a circle. And at the center of the circle, I could see there were, God, I'm trying to remember, 2 guys or 3 guys. I think 3 guys, 3 young men. And they had all had their hands tied behind their backs. and then tied together so they couldn't turn. They could only face away from each other in a triangle, and all their wrists were tied together. And then they made him sit down. And we watched this for a while because we didn't know what the hell was going on. Maybe they raped somebody. I don't. Okay. And finally, my guide went up ahead and talked to him. Come here. Ask him what was going on. And these people were all kind of laughing, and they had, jugs of water. And so it was kind of a recreational thing for him, celebratory thing. He said, "What's going on?" And, he's smiling, "What's going on, guys? You got these guys here. What are you doing to them?" And they said, "Well, we think, we're not positive, but we think they stole this little piece of metal." It was and they held it up. It was a steel bar, probably 1/2 inch thick, probably 2.5 inches wide, probably 14 inches long. Just a nondescript steel bar. And this crowd said they thought these guys collectively had stolen this from some local factory. It wasn't a tool. It was just a straight steel bar. They're going to take it and sell it somewhere, probably get an equivalent of a penny, And this group was trying to decide what to do with them. And the guys were just sitting there like, oh, hell, they looked just like what the Afghani guys must have looked like being accused of raping the girl. They're like, shit, we're just toast. We're just toast. Heads down, not saying a word. And I'm pretty sure they did steal it. Okay, well. And my guide said, "Okay, well, it's up to you. We're just passing through." And okay, we don't care. And so he motioned for me to come, and I walked up, and I walked kind of through this group, and they didn't care about my presence at all. Sometimes they do. They don't want a Westerner seeing their shit. They didn't care in this case. They just didn't care. And they're laughing and joking and kind of kicking these guys. A couple of them had sticks, and they're whacking the guys, I thought, well, I don't know. I guess that'll get sorted out. I'll call the cops or something or whatever they do in kombucha. And I don't know, whatever. And we kept walking, and we were gone for a long time, like 4 or 5 hours, good 4 or 5 hours, and did what I wanted to do. And then we came back through that same area, nobody there. And I went to that spot, and it was all bare dirt. This field was bare dirt. 90% bare dirt, hardly any grass or anything. And I went to the spot where they had been, and there were a bunch of places where something wet had soaked into the ground. Probably blood, or maybe they peed. Maybe they just peed, I don't know. I didn't get out and smell it, poke it or anything like that. I just, at the moment, I thought it was blood. Don't know. I can't say for sure what it was. The guys were gone. People were gone. And I felt in my bones that they had just offed him. They just killed him. But I don't know. And we poked around in the bushes in the surrounding jungle, and we found places where things had been dragged. Looked like small logs had been dragged from this spot where the guys had been out into the jungle. And we went in a little ways, like no more than about 7 or 8 meters. I don't like cobras. Oh, geez, I'm sorry. I hate them. I don't want to. I didn't go very far. 7 or 8 meters. That was it, as far as I, And we never found anything. We never found any clothing. Didn't find anything. We don't know that there was the bodies that were dragged out there. We just don't know anything at all. The nearest police were 2 hours away by motorbike. What should I have done? I didn't have a weapon of any kind. Should I have tried to stop? Let's say I knew for sure that they were going to off these guys. Could have tried talking to them, reasoning with them. They were somewhat drunkish. They wouldn't listen. They don't care. I would have been just mild entertainment. Probably would have beat me up. Let's say that I found the guys dead, dragged out in the jungle, and I knew where this crowd was, and let's say they're 200 yards away. What should I have done then? Should I have called the police? And I'm not going to answer what I should have done. I want you to think about the same scenario. Because if you are mucking around these parts or many, many other third world areas of the world, you're going to run into stuff just like this. It's not going to be the same stories, obviously, but it's going to be stuff as bizarre or more bizarre. And you need to think this through. What is your red line, and what are you willing to do when that red line is crossed? Let's say there's a custom somewhere, some village in a province, and once a year, in order to appease whomsoever, God, they've been about 5,000 religions in the world. Which one is the correct one? Name a god. Great Pumpkin, Mr. Potato Head, whatever. Name a god. I don't care. Let's say that this god, Mr. Potato Head, has decreed that if you want good weather good enough to grow your crops, I need babies. Oh, I need babies so bad. I need minimum 2 babies a year. Now, I happen to live at the bottom of this cliff. 2 times a year I'm going to come. I'm going to be waiting down there. I'm going to be invisible, so don't try to see me, because I'll eat you too. But I'm going to be waiting down there at the prescribed time, at the stroke of high noon. Each equinox, I'm going to be there. My gaping mouth 10 feet wide, and it's going to be open. And by God, there better be some babies drop into my mouth, or you're going to get nothing but drought, and you're all going to die. So this is for the good of your entire community. Get that straight right now. Okay, so they get this into their heads, and they repeat it 10 billion times to everybody. And people grow up believing this must be true, because when they were 3, the adults started telling them it was true. And when people tell you stuff when you're 3, you believe it. So it's got to be true. Okay, let's say you run across that, because in some places you, not maybe, you will stumble into that. What are you going to do? What's your red line? And once that red line's crossed, what are you going to do? Okay. Remember, it's not your culture, but it is the culture of humanity. And things that local cultures often do are diametrically opposed to humanity and society as a whole. So where does your loyalty lie? To the individual little culture somewhere, or to the greater culture of humanity and human life, and helping to stop human suffering? Where's your allegiance? Well, it's a gray area, and it's different for almost every individual. Sooner or later, I believe, I've choked down so much shit in my travels. And shame on me probably for it, except that choking the stuff down has allowed me to stay alive, so that I can now disseminate this thought process to a greater number of people. So maybe there's some value in that. I know if I keep mucking around third world countries all around the world, if I continue this long enough, I will eventually run into a situation where I have to say, capital N, no, period, capital M, more, period. And I do whatever I can with whatever I've got at hand. Maybe I stop one incident. Maybe not. Maybe they just cap me and then go ahead sacrificing the babies. I don't know. But, you know, that's about 99.99999% what's going to happen. But I will go to, you know, the great pumpkin in the sky, knowing that I did what I felt I should do, and I'll be warm and comfy in the notion that I did that. Even if I go to hell anyway, I'll feel good about going to hell. All right, so that's our warm and lovely discussion of shit that can happen to you and the moral dilemmas it will present to you. I don't know of too many really heinous, horrible things going on in Southeast Asia. There are some. Southeast Asia is somewhat civilized compared to places like Afghanistan. I can tell a billion stories about stuff that was borderline here that, you know, if somebody's really, really clever, like superhuman clever, and they have magical powers, you know, they're X-Men or something, then you can look at these situations and you could say, oh, okay, I don't need to confront this head on. I can make fire shoot out of my ass, you know, so I just wait for the opportunity, and when these people are sleeping, I go point my ass at them and I incinerate them in their beds, you know, that'll teach them. And then they will never know it was me, you know. If you're really, really smart and clever and you have patience, which I don't, then in some of these situations you can take care of the situation later and teach them they did a bad thing. Chances are whatever bad thing they were going to do is already done, and there's nothing you can do after the fact. Maybe you can do things that will keep them from doing it again. If you were really morally obligated to stopping this insane, illogical shit, and maybe you can do it in that way. This is all about travel. It's all about traveling bizarro places in the world. Most Americans, they listen to this and they think, well, that's a stupid conversation. That's just all stupid because that shit never happens anymore. The world is civilized. Oh, this guy's crazy. No. Get off your ass. Get around. Really, I'm telling you, get around. Don't go to the tourist traps. Go to the real places and live, not visit. Live in the real culture. You're going to see this shit and far worse. Because it's 89% of the world is still living like this. You're living in little bubbles. Little artificial Stepford wives bubbles. In the Western countries. Get real. Wake up. Get out of the matrix. Take the other pill, whichever one it was, I forgot. The blue one or the red one or whatever the hell. Take the wake-up pill. And the only way to do that is to get around. Get around. When I went to Thailand, I got there by pinning the tail on the map. I was pinning the tail on the donkey, and my finger landed on Thailand. I went there. Could have been Afghanistan. Could have. Well, no, because the map only showed Asia, so you know. Could have been Beijing. I don't know. Could have been anywhere. Okay, that's my rant. So this is included in this entire travel series of how to retire to, how to relocate to Southeast Asia, because these are things you got to think about. You got to listen to them, and you got to think about them all, preferably long before you come to any third world nation, or even some first world places that are still crazy in some respects. I got more stories. I'll tell more stories as we go along, but anyway, this one is just kind of a standalone. I don't know if I'll put a number on this thing. Probably not. I'm just throwing it out there. We have a series of 1 through 24. If you go on our channel, what's the channel? 10 Bears. 10 Bears Travel Channel. Okay. Go there and look for the one series. I know we got 100 vids on there or something. I don't know. We just put it, whatever. It's not really a organized effort too much. Put shit out there. All about travel, mostly Southeast Asia. Go there, look for the series that's numbered 1 through 24. I think now there's only like 10 of them on there. All the rest of them are all done. They're just lazy and posting them, okay? And that'll tell you everything you want to know about relocating to, retiring to Southeast Asia. So talk about some other regions too, but mostly Southeast Asia, mostly Thailand and Philippines, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Singapore, Hong Kong, whatever. But this is just one aspect of what you're going to run into if you're out there banging around, seeing stuff, you're probably not supposed to see. Probably don't want to see. Probably wish you hadn't seen. Stuff you try to forget. I try to forget a lot of it, but it's not a healthy thing for the brain. The only way around a problem is through the middle of it. You go under it, go around it, go over it. Doesn't matter. It's still going to be there. You got to go through it and deal with it. I hate that, but it's true. Okay, we'll be done. This was supposed to be 20 minutes. All right. If you like aliens, go to our alien stuff. It's on alienanalprobe.com. We've got like 300 of those podcasts that we haven't. We've uploaded like 40 of them or something because we're just so lazy. No, we're busy actually. We got podcasts on all kinds of stuff, and it's slowly being added to YouTube because we don't like YouTube. Jeez, we hate it. So we're grudgingly adding our stuff to YouTube. It's most of it's on that website. It's on the RSS feeds. It's all around. I don't know where. We just throw it out there and either find it or you don't. It's like we throw out breadcrumbs for birds, and they find them or they go home hungry. All we can do is lead the horse to water. Can't make him drink. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. And now it's evening. Good evening. Where's my camera? Good evening and good night.